Nasiri is a Chimeran hunter from the island of Pakardiant. From the late 1500s, he began hunting man-eaters and became a specialist on the subject, especially on the matter of bringing down big cats, the most dangerous animals to Chimerans. His priority was a swift, clean kill. This video chronicles his life up until his latest appearance in Songs of the Inland Sea in the story titled Haunted Legacy, and will therefore contain a number of spoils for the 4 Tales of Kaimere novellas and short stories in which he appears, so go forward with that knowledge. I don't want to spoil the end of Haunted Legacy, so if you've only read the first book, you'll be square. Nasiri was born in a walled village in the lands of the Viper clan. At this point in Pakardiant history, the Confederacy included only 4 great clans: Viper, Boar, Osprey, and Salmon. His particular matriline was the Hopping Rooster clan, one of the Viper clan's many vassal clans. Within the original Confederacy, often regarded as one of 4 groups of Pakardiant, there are 5 recognized genders. In English, they would roughly translate as cis-female, trans-female, cis-male, trans-male, and gender-neutral. The gender-neutral, which means wise, is used by people of all walks of life, but often taken on by elders, especially those witches who have lived long past their peers, but has been used by young children with increasing regularity. Nasiri is a trans man, recognized as such when he came of age and earned his bow through the Keratoan trials. Although trained and practicing as a hunter through his duties as a Keratoan, this held little significance to him beyond sustenance and spirituality until his home became the territory of Amako, a massive male leopard. Tigers and lions that turn man-eater usually do so because of some weakness, be it illness, injury, or age, that prevents them from taking on natural prey. Leopards, however, especially males, are well documented on Earth to take to man-eating at their peak health and size, often after developing a taste for people following a scavenging event. This was the case for Amako, who scavenged a Pakardiant burial site after a body was carelessly discarded. Pakardiant view being as comprised of a spirit, not a body, so once a spirit dies, they hold little significance, so are usually carried far from a settlement and buried so as not to attract scavengers like Amako. Once Amako developed a taste for Chimerans, they became his favorite prey. Between neighboring villages and Nasiri's home, Amako was confirmed to have killed at least 23 people. He attacked at night, often sneaking into a village and taking the easiest victim he came across. The few sightings described him as massive and having very light fur. Some speculated he might be a hybrid common and mountain leopard, of which a few might still exist in the highlands, though this was just local conjecture. At this time, the Pakardiant Confederacy had just entered into a treaty with the Panther clans, their former rivals. Qajar's logging colonies along the coast were encroaching on territory they did not have permission to harvest, and their mercenary guards had several violent altercations with locals. The Confederacy knew they would need a strong alliance with their old enemies if they were to hold back these outsiders. An unfortunate stipulation in the treaty with the Panther clans is that only members of the Panther clans could kill a leopard or red panther. The explanation was that big cats are sacred to them, although alleged lineages of skin changers within these clans is assumed to have been a more significant factor. If a Panther clan were to aid their old enemies, having their scouts and warriors in panther form in danger of friendly fire was not acceptable. A Keraton of the Panther clans could recognize a shifter, which is why they would only be trusted with killing a true leopard. A request for the Panther clan hunters was sent, but as tensions within the colony were rising, none of the nobles in either Pakardiant faction could afford to invest in the safety of a small town far from the conflict. Nasiri took it upon himself to track down and kill Amako. His older brother Taupori was one of the mightiest warriors of the village. Nasiri's gifts were in hunting. So as not to risk killing any innocent leopards or skin changers, Nasiri laid out several non-lethal bait traps. He captured a female leopard. As she was much smaller than the sighted leopard that had black fur instead of Amako's light, he knew her to be innocent and released the leopard. The hunt culminated in finding his brother's body, Amako's latest victim. The mighty warrior had been slain in his sleep. The panther was nowhere to be seen. Rather than approach, Nasiri waited for the leopard to return as the kill was fresh. When it did, Nasiri waited for a clear shot and put an arrow through the leopard's chest. A swift, painless kill. This first hunt is chronicled in my first anthology in a story called The Broken Circle. From this encounter, Nasiri went on to seek out man-eaters. As more and more Keraton were sent to the coast to hold off the increasing tensions between Republic and Imperial logging colonies, which culminated in the War of the Three Spears, Nasiri focused on hunting the dangerous beasts which threatened commoners in the absence of their warriors and hunters. Although his actions initially brought resentment and many enemies within the Panther clans, working with them quickly changed their minds. He became an initiate of one of their cults, gaining an understanding of how to identify skin changers in fur, and their respects in his efforts and conviction in only taking a shot if they knew the target was a man-eater. He was recruited by the cult to aid in the capture of a skin changer serial killer, taking advantage of all the warriors being occupied in what had escalated into a full-scale war up on the coast. While the Three Spears had finally come to a tense stalemate, a letter was sent to Nasiri from all the way in the magistrate of the imperial city of Zardin, asking him to aid in the hunt of a titan stork that was hunting children. Nasiri accepted the job and joined an imperial ship returning to that city. With the help of locals, he helped set a trap that they killed the horrid bird with Kaleen harpoons provided by the owner of a trading post, who also aided in the kill. From there, Nasiri's international hunting career took off. Mostly he hunted leopards, quite common in imperial lands, but he also brought down tigers, cockatrices, and crocodiles. His fame spread throughout the empire. While most imperial soldiers and weapons were back in Pakardia as tensions were building once more, Nasiri bringing down man-eaters in rural areas quickly saw him take on the status of a folk hero. Though Nasiri openly hunted to protect innocent animals and because he enjoyed life as a hunter, many historians cite his effort as easing potential tensions between imperial peoples and the Pakardiant. Rumors of a man-eater titan crow, largest of Kaimere's pterosaurs, drew Nasiri to Kajar. Although he had been raised with a deep mistrust of the Kajarith, the victim of this pterosaur were commoners in the north, loggers themselves, who supplied the war effort without any reciprocal support given all hands had to be sent overseas in the escalating conflict. This pterosaur was said to have killed hundreds, if not thousands. It had earned the name Vaskala Maldus, Death Walks on Broken Wings. Also called the Raven King for an entourage of ravens which scavenged its kills. It was said that this creature was a demon, enhanced by wild magics. Nasiri assumed the stories to be exaggerated, as they often were in his experience, but he went with caution all the same. Even a mundane titan crow could be lethal. His trap was set, much like the hunt in Zardin, with Kaleen harpoons in trees rather than on buildings. Outsmarting the beast and luring it to the trap was dangerous enough, and a man and pony fell in the attempt, but the real challenge was the kill. Nasiri exhausted all his harpoons, and one of the logger even managed to fell a tree upon the beast, but Vascalamaldus would not die. It took Nasiri impaling its heart with his last spear while one of the loggers opened its face with a felling axe before the Raven King was finally vanquished. Death Walks on Broken Wings, first story in Tales of Kaimere, covers this encounter in more detail. Shortly after this encounter, the three spears came to a head. Although Nasiri wished to continue his calling and hunt the lion-gone man-eater in western Qajar, tensions surrounding the conflict forced him to flee the country. He spent the remainder of the three spears along northern Arvel, learning from their hunters and helping in the killing of many man-eating beasts. Ahukogor, terrorizing a ring town, proved to be his greatest challenge there, and he was dismayed by the challenges of slaying a beast with its sheer size and power. It could not be done quick or clean. He also traveled to southern Arvel, hunting giant lions, hyenas, and leopards there. Once the Three Spears was over and the Teshoko Treaty resolved tensions between the great nations, the known world entered an era of peace. Nasiri used this opportunity to travel the world. He was in his prime. He had now slain hundreds of dangerous beasts and made many small towns in the known world much safer places. His emphasis on killing only known man-eaters was taken by other hunters. A tiger's paw who is injured in a trap or flank is shot by a careless hunter cannot kill deer or boar, so will turn to people for sustenance. Uninformed hunts can make more man-eaters than they resolve. Though this mentality was hardly unique to Nasiri, he helped popularize it throughout the known world. For a time, he hunted with a Kadrith noble, Teodos Nerotok, who would later establish a conservation group focused on hunting man-eaters and encouraging healthier relationships with innocent wildlife. In the mid-1800s, Nasiri came under the employ of the pirate king Koban to bring man-eaters to his menagerie rather than kill them. While Nasiri enjoyed the hunt, he appreciated the idea of giving animals a second chance, and quickly became attached to the idea. Over the next half-century, he provided numerous beasts, including Harkundi from the Hausi Prairie, pouch lions from Arvel, and Indrakai from Pakardiant. Unfortunately, calamity struck in the 1900s, and several of Nasiri's man-eaters escaped and killed many people. When he heard the offenders were either killed in the fight or had to be put down, Nasiri ended his contract with the Pirate King. The story Drowned in Water and Blood sees Nasiri at a point of crisis. He has struggled to complete a number of hunts due to his age. Trapping rather than killing had become convention, and he now struggled with the change of heart in killing. With the exception of Vascalamaldus and the skin-changing serial killer, the targets of Nasiri's hunts had always been animals who killed for food or were misguided with instincts for caching surplus. Now that he could no longer trust that Koban could actually offer the animals that he provided a peaceful retirement, and that they wouldn't kill more people, Nasiri knew he would have to start killing again. A young imperial naturalist named Jehan happened upon Nasiri preparing to hunt a young Kurojaku who had claimed a village as her territory and its people as its favored prey. This behavior is typical of female Kurojaku, though they are typically choose fish or wild mammals in the swamp, which are more abundant, and chimerans are quite rare. Though Nasiri went on to the settlement with the aim to kill, Jehan convinced him to instead frighten the beast so that she would associate people with fear, not food. The plan worked, and though Nasiri still hunts to kill, he accepted Jehan as an apprentice and used the studying scholar's knowledge of animal behavior to know if their targets could be saved and how. Over the next few years, Nasiri's age continued to get the best of him. This is common for chimerans in around their 5th and 6th centuries. As the hereditary magic weakens, the body ages, and as the magic tries to combat aging, the magic is strained and further deteriorates. This doesn't happen immediately, often taking a century or two for what most humans age in a couple decades, but this swift considering their aging all but stops in their second to fifth centuries while in their prime. Nasiri continued to hunt with Jehan, but noticed his aim, focus, and fortitude wane. Injuries that once healed overnight now took days. In these years, he took on 2 additional apprentices. First was Rukira, a Karatoan from the Panther clans, who sought out Nasiri after hearing of his hunts as a girl. She was the daughter of a potion witch and makes brews which give her the partial transformation of a skin changer, mostly in heightening her senses and allowing her to hunt effectively at night. Second was the Kadrith hunter Boris, who was the grandson of a boy in the town Nasiri helped save from Vascala Maldas. Together, these 4 hunted man-eaters throughout the known world. In Haunted Legacy, we find Nasiri and his apprentices sailing back home in the Empire after a close call. They went to northern Qajar to put down the man-eater Aldacus, a hybrid wild lion and Nerotan domesticated war cat, who was responsible for the death of 67 farmers. Nasiri missed his shot, and the cat charged. Rukira and Boris together managed to kill the beast, but it was a messy affair. Nasiri considering retirement, and if his apprentices are ready to take on his legacy. They have been together for 6 years now, and while Ru and Boris are both excellent hunters on their own and Jehan's knowledge is invaluable, they aren't yet as strong a team as he would like. Nasiri assumes this will be a long voyage in which he can nurse his wounded pride and accept his retirement. Unfortunately, an acquisitions team from the Great Library are transporting First Children artifacts from a dig site to their archives, and a small team of thieves has assembled on the massive ship to liberate one of the artifacts. The heist goes horribly wrong, and a creature awakens from stasis within one of the artifacts. Nasiri and his apprentices are faced with their greatest challenge yet. Cheers to Ian for sponsoring this episode. Nasiri has long been a character in my work, since I first wrote the first draft of Death Walks on Broken Wings back in high school, and it was very fun to go through his life and career with a wider lens than I could explore in a given short story. Thanks again to Ian for this sponsorship, to my Patreon patrons for your support in this project, and you for watching. Next week, we will venture to the Permian continent, a temperate world ruled by dicynodonts. Until then, stay fantastic, everyone. Cheers, folks!